Hello, my fine Acid Pro Next Sweet friends. I haven't done one of these for a while because of some of the changes that have been going on in YouTube. So I forget what I told you we were going to do next. So we're going to do something that has been kind of in my mind for a while. I wanted to do it anyway. Today we're going to mess with time and tempo. So, why would you want to do this? There are certain points where you want to change your tempo and you want to change the time signature as the piece progresses. You want in time in beats per minute, you want to keep things relatively close to where you start and progress in small jumps. There is a point where you will drift too far away from where your sounds actually sound like you want them to. And that's what we're going to demonstrate today more than anything is at what point do your sounds mutate too much because of a change in beats per minute versus where they are actually sampled. So we've got a bunch of 120 beat per minute samples in here, and I've already set up some changes in the beats per minute structure, and I'm going to show you how to do that in a second. But the main thing you need to know is what the difference is. The time signature is how many beats are in each bar. So you take, for example, a lot of classical music, something like that. Something like Whole Planet's Mars is done in a 5/4 time signature. So we would come down here and we would change this to a 5/4. And that changes how it interprets the bars. But we're going to keep this in 4/4 because that's how I have it set up. And if I put it in 5/4, the beats won't fall where they need to go. We'll show you what it sounds like in 5/4 if I just edit this out in just a second. But I also want to cover key. You could set a key for your entire piece. Now, our particular, music part is in the key of D. As you can see, it's 120 beats per minute in the key of D, and we're just doing a basic ARP. So you hit a drop down, change it to the key of D, and now we're in the key of D. Now, what I started out here with is a very simple drum beat, nothing complicated, everything hits on the beat. And then an ARP just to give it some sound. I wanted to do a drone, but the drone didn't actually come across giving enough tonality change as we go through the piece. Now, the next thing you need to understand is how do I get the menu up here to actually alter the beats per minute and the key. So if we go in here, we'll select the next bar, and we're going to hit Shift T, and that brings up a tempo, key, and time signature change box for that particular where we have it selected. And currently our key is D. Our tempo change is currently set for 120. Your transition type can be hold, linear, fast, smooth, slow, sharp. So you have some choices, and we're going to explore some of these maybe if I get a chance. And a new time signature change. So at this point, if we had a 4/4 time signature, we can actually change it to 3/4, 5/4, whatever we want to change it to. Now, I'm not going to change the time signature because this particular piece is fixed and it doesn't have that much alteration in the time signature, so we don't want to do that right now. We'll do it for the entire piece at some point, and then I'll play it again. But it's 30 seconds or so. I think it's like 33 seconds it comes out to be, so it doesn't take a lot of your time. And once you click, if you click cancel, this is going to go away. If you click OK, it will stay present. So when I click cancel, gone. Time change is gone. If I messed it up, add it back in, click OK. So now we've got these markers. You can also do this by hitting Insert, Time Key, Time Signature Change, and it will do one at your highlighted location. So we start out the piece here. Let's change this to the correct. Let's just change all these to the correct time signature, or I'm sorry, the correct pitch and key. That way they sound correct as possible. All right. So I have one iteration of the sound in its current default state, which is 120 beats per minute in the key of D with a 4/4 time signature. Come down here, right click on this and go to Edit. And now we can alter it. Now I'm going to make a drastic change so that you can see, well, actually this time I'm going to make a small change. We're going to go to 122 beats per minute. Should not have that drastic an impact on it. But from here, we'll have a hard transition to 122 beats per minute. Now to show you something a little more complicated and what it sounds like when you stray too far away from it, we're going to go with 132 beats per minute. And then just to show you even further what it sounds like as you stray away from what you have, we're going to go here and we're going to go 142. And that way we'll see a 10 beats per minute jump, straying this track away from its original 120 beats per minute. And then I want to show you what happens when we go to low. So we're going to immediately drop this down to 90. We're going to drop it again to 70, and that will take it very much outside of its default time. And then we'll put it back to 120 so you can see the comparison of what it's. So we're going to go faster, faster, even faster, extremely slow, even slower, and then back to normal pitch. So let's go ahead and play this so you can hear the difference. Started at the beginning. And like I said, simple drum pattern, simple ARP, shouldn't be too complicated, should be able to hear it just fine as it progresses through. So here we go. All right, here's the first change. You can feel it's a little faster, but it's not too far out of line. Now a more drastic change. And even more drastic. And now we're going to go slow. Even slower. And you can hear some of the sound falling out of the samples. Back to normal. And as you can see, since we're using a fixed sample that's sampled at a particular beat per minute and a particular key, as it progresses through its sound changes, small changes like this one right here, not too bad. Even this isn't too bad, but we've strayed very far away from what it was originally recorded through, and beat map to, and 142 beats per minute. It's not as distorted, but you can still hear some of it falling apart. And the transitions, you can hear, this one wasn't as apparent. So if we play this transition again real quick, you can't really, you could feel it get faster, but the transition isn't as hard. So you can kind of step through this progression, get faster, and not have it be horrible. However, when you get to something like this, it gets really jumpy when you transition. And you can hear the skip right there when it does the transition. And that's the danger of getting too far outside of your beats per minute measure. Now, there are cases when you want to change your beats per minute. You want a particular part of a song to be faster or slower, more melodic. It's not always a bad thing to do that. And it is definitely something that I've done many, many times. I actually composed an entire 6-minute song where I took it from a very slow tempo to a very fast tempo by doing this. However, I had a very hard time maintaining the entire style, theme, and instrumentation within those changes. After I got to a certain point, like we got to here, where we were too fast or too slow, and even drastically too slow, all of the tonality fell out of the loops I was using. All the tonality fell out of the sound. It was not recorded at that particular level. So therefore, it tried to play its original mapping, but slower. There are sounds that are recorded or pre-recorded if you're getting loops that fall into those categories of a 70 beat per minute loop. I did not have time to find something that slow looking through my collection while I was trying to find a simple thing to put together to demonstrate this. However, just know that you can find things out there that are recorded in these different tempos without a problem. So if you want to switch from a primary scene that you're building in your song and suddenly you need things to be more dramatic and more upbeat and more, well, you need to do a change of how the song feels. This is a great way to do that. However, if you get too far away from what your original tonality is, you may need to pick a different recording, remap the song at 70 beats per minute, or record your own at a slower rate. So if we're coming into something, a dramatic something, and you can roll into these really well if you want to do roll-ons and roll-offs, and then switch completely to something else or a different sound. Or like I said, you can definitely re-beat map and remap how your sound is recorded, especially if you're making your own loops. And that will give you the opportunity to match two different feelings within one song. So that's another great example of why you would want to do this is there was a song that I did a long time ago that was contrasting darkness and light. And to do that and make it more obvious where the changes were, I took and increased and decreased the tempo for each of the pieces, and basically they talked back and forth to each other. And it was extremely difficult in the end when I had them playing together because they were not mapped to the same tempo. So it took a lot of effort and a lot of chopping to get the sounds where they needed to be. But if you want to do this trick, and a small change can definitely brighten or darken the mood of any track that you want to do, or changing the time signature or changing the key signature. So let's take one of our subtle changes and let's change to a contrary key change. So let's go to G instead. Now this isn't going to be as obvious, especially with a pre-recorded loop, but I'll play this little track here, give you a little bit into the key change so you can hear what it sounds like. And I'll tell you what, just for comparison, so that the tempo change doesn't get in the way, I'm going to set it back to 120 beats per minute. So it's just going to continue in the same tempo, and it's just going to change the key so you can kind of hear what that sounds like. Okay, did you hear the transition? Sometimes if you need to do something such as make a falsetto on top of another thing to make that track a little bit more prominent, you can increase or change the key and play it on top of another track that hasn't been key changed to get what you're looking for. Now that isn't going to work in this example because it would change the entire thing. Also, sometimes you need to vary how things sound, and that would be how you would do it. So you could do this and then switch it back to D. So let's do that. Let's do a key change back to D. Oh, wait, I want to change the time. I don't want it to be 132. Let's make it 120 again. And then let's play this phrase right here so you can kind of get an idea of what that would sound like and what maybe give you some idea of some possible things you could do with it yourself. Okay, so you can kind of see we've lifted the song up a little bit, added some variants, made a small change, and you can do these. If you scroll way down, you can even make as many of these as you want. So you can change within a bar just like that. So getting closer and closer and looking in there, and I have turned off lines, unfortunately. It looks like probably something I hit trying to remember what the time signature change shortcut was. I'll fix it later. Anyway, so if you need to alter how things sound as you go, if you have a straight monotonous tone or something that repeats, and you don't want it to be so repetitive, you could change that in here by doing this. Because I know last time I think we covered panning and volume changes to take your loops and send them to one side of the recording or the other, and then to make them louder or softer so they stand out better. If you haven't seen that video, go back and check it out, because it's an extremely useful tactic to have when you're transitioning a scene in a song to go from one to the other. So you come into a piece either very quiet and build it up while you take the other one out, or you just fade out of your song. It's also a great way to do that. So definitely worth checking out, because I always overrun my songs and then I actually pan them and volume change them out of the song. So gives it more of a old style recording feel sometimes. So back to this. So definitely want to make sure you listen to that a little bit and maybe play back some of the clips if you didn't quite understand what we were doing. What we're going to do now, just for the example of it, is I'm going to go to the beginning here. Let me see if I can change the entire thing. It might have done what I wanted it to do. Yep, everything is in 5/4 now. So let's take our 4/4 beat and see how it transitions over to 5/4. And again, if you need to change the beats per minute on the fly or the tempo on the fly, you can use the slider, and that will get you changing things as you go. It is a little wonky sometimes, and you can click on it like that and actually type in there if you want to. But let's go ahead and hear that in 5/4 and see what the difference is between 4/4 and 5/4 for a time signature. Not as awkward as I thought, but you can hear some of the differences, and you can also see, I pull it back down, some of the changes that it made in how the beats hit. Not terribly different, but let's go to something more drastic like 9/8 and play it. And here's the thing. You're not hearing it as much, but you can see the counters hit, and where it should end, it's not quite lined up right. This is one of the things of not being designed for a different time signature. You could see here all of our drum beats hit where they're supposed to on 4/4. When I stretch it out to 5/4, we're moving off to the next beat. Doesn't change how it sounds, because this track is not particularly complex. However, if you count here and then we change it back to 5/4 or 4/4, you can see where it hits. We got 1, 2, 3, bam. And this one we're going to end up with 1, 2, 3, 4, bam. So it is going to change the feel of the song just a little bit if you have more complex elements in there. It allows you to do a lot of different things. Maybe sometime we'll do a little bit more with time signatures, but it's very complicated, and I don't really need to go into that right now. What I really wanted to go into is tempo, because so many people I've seen use this incorrectly, or they make variations that are too drastic. So that will get you started on playing around with it, and you can see for yourself how things change as you go through a song and change tempo and key. So hopefully that'll give you something to play with for a little while. And I'll plan on making more of these. A lot of the content was removed from my channel recently because of COPPA. I don't feel that these videos are anything that would be affected by COPPA, so I can continue to make these. But I've been doing a lot of searching to find out what I can and can't do on YouTube anymore. And I don't think these music tutorials are something that would have any interest whatsoever to children. So I'll go ahead and make these without any problem. I'm still doing some of the tech stuff. I've got a bunch of videos I got to edit out, and we've got one that I did that I actually want to rethink. So that one will go up sometime, but I think I need to remake some of it, and we'll do that. But it's very helpful if you're interested in tech stuff. If you're interested in music stuff, I'm going to try to continue to do these on Tuesdays. My job keeps telling me I'm going to start traveling, but they haven't told me when. So I don't know when that's going to start, but that may actually give me more time to make videos and do stuff. We'll see. Anyway, that catches you up to now. That gets you some knowledge in Acid Pro Next. Most of the other versions are pretty much exactly the same, so not a lot you got to worry about there. Next week, we'll try to do some more interesting things with actually music flow rather than just the technical aspects of it, because that seems to be something more people are interested in. Anyway, that's it for now. I'll see you guys later.